Good day everyone, GarageKing here, and on today's video we're going to do the oil change on a Nissan Pathfinder. 2005 to 2012 is pretty much all the same, so if you want to learn how to do an oil change on a Nissan Pathfinder, stay tuned.
Okay, so we are under the vehicle and we have 10 mil bolts here. There's a few of them. There's 1, 2, and 3. So we got 3 10 mil bolts. And then the actual drain plug is right over there. So it's actually really open and easy to do an oil change. So let's take this sucker off. Now sometimes we got to watch these things spin. So hopefully this one doesn't. So this one here, this bolt here, just keeps turning. So it must be the nut part must just be turning and it's all rusted up. But you know what, we can just use this as a little access panel like this, I guess. And I won't take it off. Thank God it wasn't this one, and we'll just make sure we use a bunch more anti-seize when we're putting it back together. So now you can see there's the filter up there. So we're just gonna take off the filter. We're gonna hold this pan up here so we can try to catch everything that comes out. There we go. It's gonna be leaking out.
So I'll just speed it up a little bit here. You can see there's the oil coming out. It's kind of messy, so make sure you wear gloves. Definitely don't want to get this oil all over your hand. You can see the filter here. It's a little bit tight, just getting it out, but after a little wiggle, it comes out and it's fine. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to let it drain a little bit because we want to make sure that all the oil comes out, and then we'll install our new filter and clean it up with a rag. So here's our Nissan oil filter. I'm going to use a factory one just because this is what my friend had. Here's the part number. I'll just throw it up nice and close so you can see there's a part number if you want to buy the Nissan one. But you don't need a Nissan one. You can actually, as long as you get a good aftermarket high quality oil filter, you can't go wrong and they'll work just fine.
And they come with this nice plastic protection, so I'm just going to take that off. And we're just going to put a little bit of oil around the rim of the oil filter. There we go, just like so. Want to give this a good rub down. And there we go, that's nice and tight. So now I just have a really big rag, and what I'm doing is I'm just gonna wipe everything here, make sure it's nice and clean. We don't want any dripping all over our driveway.
And you know what? I can't stress it enough, guys. Really, make sure you give it a good wipe, because the worst thing is when it does drip on the driveway, sometimes you'll just think you've had an oil leak or something like that, and really you don't. It's just being sloppy.
And there you go, we're all done. So now what we can do is just close this back up, just like so. And then we'll put our bolts in. And we don't want to happen to these bolts what happened to that one bolt getting stuck. So we're just going to make sure we take on the anti-seize. Make sure we got a ton of it on. You can never have too much, really, especially down here. And then we can just start it by hand. And our center one.
So yeah, just kick the anti-seize on. You really can never have too much. And then once you torque them back down, once you put the bolts in and they're all torqued back down, they just go snug. You don't have to do them really tight, because then what happens is they sort of rust and just kind of get stuck in there. And then as you saw the other one, I can't even get it out. It's just spinning. The nut is just spinning. So they don't have to be tight. And I always, when I'm under the vehicle, I use a bunch of anti-seize on bolts like this. So now let's head over to the drain plug. Now, if no one's replaced the drain plug on your Nissan, it'll be a 14 millimeter. So if you still have a factory drain plug, it's going to be 14 millimeters. So get out your 14 millimeter wrench and we can take this off. Now, in the meantime, this gets a little boring. I'll show you me taking this out just to try to not slop oil all over your hands. I'll show you how I take out the drain plug, and then I'm going to show you a really cool car clip while it's draining. So that was a pretty crazy clip. I'm not sure if that damage is going to buff out, but we'll see, I suppose. And we can see this one has a copper washer, so I'm just going to go get another copper washer to replace it. And in the meantime, I'll leave you with Bandit. And here you can see I have a new copper washer for our drain plug, so we're just going to put this on, and then we can screw the plug back in. But before we do it, we'll just give it a quick wipe here at the bottom of the oil pan here. I always just give it a wipe just to make sure that there's, you know, whatever, nothing laying around there that shouldn't be, or some dirt or crud or something like that. And then we just screw it right in, and then we'll tighten it up with our wrench, and we are done. Final stretch, guys. Let's lower this vehicle. Let's get under the hood. I'm going to throw up a magnifying glass in a minute here. Show you. There you go. There's where the oil filler cap is. So we're just going to remove the oil filler cap. Now this vehicle here, I'm just going to use 5W30 synthetic oil. You don't even have to use synthetic oil, but I'm just going to put 5W30 in. Now it's good to check your owner's manual because these things are sold all around the world, and depending on the climate, you may need a different oil viscosity. So just so you're aware, but here where I am in Canada, this time of the year, 5W30 works out just fine, and the manual approves that, so it's all good. Now, the one thing you can see me doing here is I'm just checking the level. So what I always do is I fill it up. I put a few liters in, at least, 3 to 4 liters, because I know it's going to take more than that. Check the level just to kind of see where I'm at. And then what I'll do is I'll actually start the vehicle, run it for a minute or so, let the oil pressure come up, let the oil filter fill up, shut it off, and then I'll recheck it again. And then I'll do my final checks. Okay guys, last stretch. We are almost done. Just rounding the bases here. Okay, so now listen up. Once you shut the engine off, always wait about a minute or so. I mean, I've sped up the video because I don't want to waste anybody's valuable time, but always wait about a minute before checking it, because if you shut off the engine and you check it right away, you may get a false reading, because what can happen is there's still just too much oil at the top of the engine and it hasn't had a chance to run down yet. So just make sure you do that. And then basically all I'm going to do now is just top it up till it's done. So what did I use for this? What kind of tools did I use for this? Well, really not much. The only thing I had to use was a 10mm socket, and that was to get access to the oil filter, and then just a 14mm wrench. That's all I used. Well, and then obviously jack stands and a rag. So you'll need to jack up your vehicle, or actually maybe not. You might be able to slide under there. I don't know. Let me know. Anyway, that's it. Hope to see you next week. Thank you, everyone.